This was a message. As you guys know, Dave, he had to have a heart transplant surgery. So one of the things that he preached on before all of this stuff happened is he preached on the parable of the talents. And that brought up a lot of awesome feelings in my life because it's one of my favorite parables. So I told him then, after he spoke, I said, the next time I preach, it's going to be about that story. So that's what we're going to do today, and the title of the message is Knowing the Master's Heart. So today we're going to talk about these two. Jesus told a story, actually two similar stories. One's in Matthew 25 and the other's in Luke 19. Both are about servants who were entrusted with their master's resources. Both stories end with reckoning. Some servants are rewarded, and one servant is rebuked. At the heart of these parables is the question, do you know the master's heart? Because how you see him will determine how you serve him, and how you serve him will determine how you are rewarded by him. So let's read together Matthew 25. If we can pull that up on the screen. I'm sure you guys all know the story. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. All right, this is a different version, but same story. At that time, the king of heaven, that's the wrong spot. Here we go. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who has called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 talents, he went and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with 2 talents gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come share in your master's happiness. And this is the part that gets me. The man who had received 1 talent came. Master, he said, I knew you were a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. And then his master said, you wicked, lazy servant. You knew that I harvested where I have not sown and gathered where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Thank you. So this is the story. I know that you guys probably know this story. It's kind of the same thing. It's a similar one in Luke 19, 12 through 27. It says, a nobleman went to a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and then return. So it's kind of the same thing. But here's the truth. These aren't just stories about talent or money or business. They're about our responsibility as believers. God has placed something valuable in your hands, and one day you will give an account for how you used it. So here's one of my main points. Got 3 main points. I like to keep it short, simple, and to the point, since I think that's why they schedule me to preach when it's days of cover dish, because they know everybody wants to get out of here and eat. All right, so the first main point, the master entrusts with expectation. The parable begins with the master going away and entrusting his property to the servants. Notice it's not their property, it's his. Matthew says he gave one 5 talents, another 2, and another 1. Luke says he gave each servant 10 minas and told them, engage in business until I come. This shows 2 things. It shows entrustment and expectation. God has entrusted something to every single one of us. He gave according to ability, meaning that he knows exactly what you can handle. And even the smallest gifts are still valuable. 1 talent was 20 years' wages. So I don't know if you guys know, but in today's terms, the average income for one person is about $66,000 a year. So that would be right around $1.3 million. He entrusted with these guys. So God told me, one of the things God told me through this parable was, don't look at somebody else's 5 and complain about your 1. Your 1 is still precious. It's still valuable. It still means the world. When I was a kid, my parents, one night, they threw me the keys to their car. And they said, hey, go out and have fun. They knew at that time that if I wasn't at school and I wasn't at home, I was at church, because I pretty much stayed here. So I was really surprised they gave me the keys to their car. And they said, hey, just go have fun. I was like, I don't know how to do that unless there's like a church service going on somewhere. So I got in the car and I just rode around, just like seeing all the things that I wanted to see in the county. Just rode around looking at things. But when they told me the words, go have fun, there was an expectation that they had behind that. The expectation was, hey, go have fun, use our car, be responsible. Don't wreck our car. This is all we got. We're trusting you to keep this car safe, and we're trusting you to protect our hearts. So God never gives without expectation. If he puts it in your hands, he intended for you to do something with it. In 1 Corinthians 4:2, it says, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful. In James 1:17, it says, every good and perfect gift is from above. So one of the things the questions God told me to ask myself is, what has God entrusted to me personally? Am I treating it like it's valuable? Am I engaging in the business of the kingdom, or am I burying it? It's so easy for me to let fear creep in and just start digging. If the master entrusts with expectation, then how we respond depends on whether or not we truly know his heart. So my second point is that knowing the master's heart determines our actions. In Matthew's account, the first 2 servants went immediately and began to work. Why? Because they trusted the master. They knew he delighted in their faithfulness. But the 3rd servant, listen carefully, the 3rd servant, he misread the master's heart. He said, I knew you to be a hard man, so I was afraid and I hid your talent. The tragedy is not that he buried the talent in this story. The tragedy is that he misunderstood the master's character. He believed the master was harsh and impossible to please. That wrong belief led to fear, and that fear led to failure. So God showed me in this particular case, the reason why this makes no sense to me, this story. For years, I looked at this and I knew there was something deeper that God had for me in this. And I always thought, like the guy, he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, like the best you can ask for when you loan someone something or you let them borrow it is that they give it back to you in the same condition that you gave it to them. So I was like, he did exactly what I would do. You gave it to him, you entrusted him with it, he kept it, and then he gave it back. Same condition, maybe a little dirty from the hole that he dug, but same condition pretty much. But in this, God showed me that that's why I related to the servant with one talent, because I also had a fear of failure. So this is important. Your view of God determines how you live for him. If you see him as cruel, you'll serve him out of fear. If you see him as gracious, you'll serve him out of love. If you see him as distant, you won't serve him at all. So when I was a kid, growing up, my dad was an alcoholic. So we would get physically and emotionally and mentally abused day after day. And in that, in our household, it was basically like an old Japanese saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. So if you made a mistake, you got hammered. And actually, half the time when you did something good, you still got hammered. It didn't really matter. So in those situations, you don't have the opportunity to succeed, because when you do something good, you're punished, and when you do something bad, you're punished. So you just feel like you get nothing but punishment in life. And that's what I grew up in. Now, luckily, God has started to infect our lives. When I was in middle school, my dad quit drinking because I prayed so hard for him. So he quit. All of his friends just left him. And he used to drink with those guys. And so when they left him, he quit drinking. And he became my absolute best friend in life up until the day he died. And, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. Elizabeth's my best friend in life. But he was a very close second. But when you contrast that with how Elizabeth was raised, she was raised in a nurturing, loving household. She was raised that you can fail all you want. I'm still going to love you. And so, like, she didn't get hammered when she made mistakes. They loved her through it. And so now she can go out and be bold and courageous and say things that I would never say in public. Because I have a fear of failure, and she doesn't. And it's a really sad thing, but I guess it is what it is. The way that you see the Father shapes the way that you live for him. In Romans 8:15, it says, "You did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received a spirit of adoption." And that's one of the verses I carry in my life. When I start getting scared or afraid, I think about that scripture. And in Hebrews 11:6, it says, "Without faith, it's impossible to please him." Faith comes from knowing his heart. Fear comes from misunderstanding it. So, do you serve God out of fear, or do you serve him out of love? I obeyed my parents growing up out of fear. I was absolutely 100% scared of what would happen if I didn't. And the common phrase in our household was, "Don't do as I do, do as I say." So I knew if I didn't obey, I'd be punished. But as I grew up, like I said, the love of God infected our household, and I began to obey them out of love, even though they didn't technically deserve it. I obeyed them out of love anyway, and I started to see my parents as broken people that did what they could to provide for us as kids. Do you hesitate because you think it's impossible to please God? Or do you step out boldly because you know his grace? The master's heart isn't harsh, it's generous. And that leads to the third point of relationship brings reward. When the master returns, notice that he says to the faithful servants, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord." In Luke's account, he says, "Because you're faithful with little, I will set you over 10 cities." The reward isn't just more stuff. The reward is greater responsibility. I will set you over much. Greater authority. You shall have authority over 10 cities. Greater relationship. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Faithfulness in small things leads to eternal reward in big things. When I worked at Chick-fil-A, long time ago, I really had an awesome relationship with the guy who owned it. And he made me a team leader, which is kind of like middle management in Chick-fil-A. And so, I guess you guys, your family, so I fell off the wall at the mall and broke my leg and broke all 3 bones in my right leg and had a really long recovery from that. But he visited me in the hospital. And he said, "Hey, I wanted to tell you, we're promoting you to upper management." And he's saying this to me in my hospital room. So he comes in, shakes my hand. He says, "Hey, here's your new shirt. Here's your new tie. Here's your name tag. You're in upper management when you get back to work." And so he told me years later that he didn't give me a raise or give me a new position because he thought that I needed the money to pay medical bills. He did it because of his character. He was a servant, first and foremost. And that was my reward, is that I had the relationship with him that I had. So that's what meant more to me than the actual position or the paycheck. In the kingdom, faithfulness is now practiced for ruling with Christ later. Revelation 22:5 says, "We will reign with him forever and ever." Luke 16:10 says, "One who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much." 2 Timothy 2:12, "If we endure, will we also reign with him?" We will also reign with him. So what am I trying to say? Don't despise the small opportunities that God gives you. They're stepping stones to eternal authority. Don't think as your service as it goes unnoticed. The master sees. The greatest reward is not what you receive, but who you receive. The joy of your Lord. So in closing, I wanted to ask you guys this question, so you guys can take this when you leave here. But do you know the master's heart for your life? I really want all of us to ask that question specifically. Do you know the master's heart for your life? He entrusts with expectation. Your views of his heart determines your actions, and faithfulness and relationship brings reward. One day we'll all stand before him. The greatest words you could ever hear are not, "You were successful. You did great. I'm proud of you." It would be, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord." So, I'm asking you guys, what are you doing with what God has entrusted you with? Are you burying it, or are you trying to multiply it? Do you serve out of fear or out of love? So I know that we are a church that doesn't just know the master, but we truly seek to know his heart. Because when you know his heart, obedience is not a burden, it's a joy. And I wanted to close, I told you guys, this is simple. Simple and easy. I wanted to close with Numbers 6:24. It's one of my favorite prayers to pray over people. "May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Amen.